It's been a hard day and night, and I've been working like a dog.
Are you ready to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship at Business. We talk a lot about business here on with Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts on my website at syklein.com. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. And I'm thrilled to kick it off talking about something that I am very, very passionate about. How we spend our days is how we spend our lives. Our next guest, our first guest, is visionary Sean McMann, who suggests we can start prioritizing our life by recognizing a couple of things. We're going to talk all about it, but we're going to talk quite a bit about the 80-20 rule and how to fulfill our time effectively. Sean was recruited right out of college to work at one of the largest data firms, and he's embarked on an 8-year journey from new grad to consulting director. And he has written the book quite literally. It's called Hacking the Corporate Jungle, How to Work Less, Make More, and Actually Like Your Life. Sean, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here. I got to tell you, I love how the segments and the show start with the Beatles. It's it rings in my heart. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it fires me up each and every week. Sean, I understand that you quit your job at the height of your career to try and fix the problem of the corporate jungle. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? What led you to write this book?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm nuts. No, my dad, when I told my dad, he said he was just told me I was stupid. And I guess I'm trying to prove him wrong. I wrote the book because I thought I worked with a lot of great people back in corporate America. And I thought a lot of them were wasting a ton of time. And that's not a dig at them. I'm not trying to throw shade on them. That's to say, I thought they could do a lot more for our society, for themselves, than just work. And what I noticed is when you work with a lot of great people, in my experience, people are mostly honest. And when you work with great, honest people, if they don't have enough to do, they'll make work for themselves. and so a lot of how I got up and climbed the ladder so quickly, I think, was focusing on cutting out all the crap that I think bogs down a lot of corporate workers and a lot of small business owners and folks in the business game in general.
Sean, you talk about the importance of breaking the rules. What are some of the rules that you think we should be breaking?
I think on a regular basis, that's a good question. I think on a regular basis, you should be telling your boss no or asking for more information. I think bosses, because of our maybe proliferation of lawyers and the legal space, I think bosses err on the side of caution and don't share enough information. And sometimes why you're doing something or how you should be doing something is directly indicated by what the boss knows and you don't. And so rather than jumping when the boss asks you to, asking questions and getting more insight into what they see, why they're concerned, I think will not only cut down on your busy work, but should also help you understand how to be more proactive and really understand where to address the problem. Sometimes bosses just know, hey, I've solved problem A through solution C, so do solution C for me. But as a worker, a lot of times you have a direct connection to how maybe solution D is much better and is much more updated given current technology. Does that answer your question? I could talk about this all day. I got plenty more.
It's awesome. The other thing that I'm fascinated about is you also talk about the importance of working less. How can we work less and still be successful?
Yeah. So it's like working out at the gym, right? You can't pump iron all day without proper preparation and without really focusing on what you're doing and doing it smart. And what I mean by that is really, I call it in my book, we have peak time, right? And what peak time is you really have, depending on the study, you have between an hour and a half to 3 hours of peak time in a day. And that's really where your attention's at the absolute most. You're able to absorb the most information. And most people would describe, right, that it's the time of day that they're on their game. That's really the time of day that you should be, one, doing the most important thing in your business or for your career. And you should be spending at least 30 minutes of that triggering the natural biological effects in your brain of neuroplasticity. And that's a big word, I know, but neuroplasticity, basically just a way of saying, hey, we're going to use this time to learn, which reprograms your brain, creates new connections, and it helps your brain actually reform itself. And so if you spend 30 minutes a day growing your brain in every real sense, you not only become a better worker, you're actually going to become a better asset, both for the company you work for, your own business, and our society and our economy at large.
Absolutely. Sean, what are your thoughts on the current state of the corporate world?
Oh man, do you have a few hours? No, I think the short summary is I think it's a ticking time bomb, and I think it's a ticking time bomb. Before I scare anyone, I think it's a ticking time bomb because we're all in the same boat. We really are all in this together. And what I mean by that is, so I foolishly, when I was younger, I thought I could fix it. And I thought I could come up with this great idea, and the idea would solve everyone's problems. And then I just need to convince really smart people like you, Shalom, to fix it and to help me fix it. And then we'd all go about fixing it. And I started realizing that the solution to our problem was much more democratic, that I needed a lot more people to come up with little ideas along the way and to help us all kind of steer in the right direction. So when I say we're all in this together, I mean, as of March 2023, we have about $35 trillion in U.S. retirement accounts. And the majority of that money, like over 80% of that, is in United States bonds and in United States corporations, largely publicly traded ones. And so if corporations become less competitive, it's going to affect the largest, wealthiest generation more than anyone else. And that's the baby boomer generation, which will then have ripple effects in real estate, in banking, in the rest of the world. And so when I say it's a ticking time bomb, our younger generation, they are not, including my own generation, we do not have enough people to pay for the older generation. And those corporations are all trying to find creative ways to become more efficient, to become more profitable. And eventually the rug's going to fall out from under them. And we're all going to have a very big problem in our hands. And we've had this problem before, right? Like the government has bailed out the banking and the economy 4 times before, with the most recent one being in 2008, right? And so this is an ongoing problem that we don't really know how to fix. And economics doesn't really provide an answer for us because they don't even have a variable for altruism. Like they can't predict economic behavior because people just do things for other people to be good. And so what I propose, I guess, to answer your question, what's the current state of corporate America? It's like a teenager. It's like an adolescence right now. It's trying to get its sea legs. It's trying to figure out what the next step in its growth is. And I think we're really seeing it happen in the boardroom or in the hallways, as it were. A classic tale of 2 generations kind of arguing. The younger generation say, hey, we want to work less and we want a better life. And the older generation is like, well, we sacrificed so much. We built up this great firm. You should, follow in our footsteps. And the younger generation is kind of like, well, hey, you don't really know your kids. And the older generation's like, but this is the way the world works. And the younger generation's like, yeah, but maybe it shouldn't. And so I think how we all come together, young, old, rich, not so rich, like I think how we all come together and solve this problem, is not only going to be a lot of fun, but is in all of our collective best interest. You really let me go there, Shalom. I appreciate it.
This is fascinating. I can talk to you for hours. And the great thing is for our listeners, Sean McMann, our guest right now, his insights are in his new book, Hacking the Corporate Jungle, How to Work Less, Make More, and Actually Like Your Life. It sounds like a perfect Hanukkah gift, Christmas gift, whatever the case may be. Sounds like a perfect thing for your family. Sean, I know you practice what you preach. You spend time riding your bike, visiting art museums, snowboarding, and playing with your 2 young sons. So what I want to leave our listeners with is if you can share that one bit of advice that you think people should make as their New Year's resolution and how we can find the book and get in touch with you.
Yeah. One bit of advice. So you're not crazy. Life doesn't make sense right now, and it's because everything's shifting. And no one knows what's coming next. So listen to yourself, follow your intuition, be willing to go where you haven't gone before, be willing to brave a new path, because if you don't, like I figured out, right, your kids are going to have to, and that's a lot to expect from children. So do it now, and then your kids can reap the benefits along with you and your family. To get in touch with me, you can reach out via my website, shalomklein.com. That's probably the best way to find me. Or, I mean, of course, you can reach out on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that.
The books are available wherever books can be sold. We'll link in the show notes. Shalom McMann, really appreciate you coming out and sharing your expertise and passion. I can't wait for the next conversation. We're going to squeeze in a quick break here. We've got a lot more in store for you this week on Get Down to Business. As always, you can get in touch with me, shalomklein.com. We'll talk to you in a few.